All right, and we're live.
Yo, welcome back to the Out the Box Show. I'm John Wallace alongside my co-host James Luffy and Rory Luke. And wow, what a time for sports. It is officially, I'm declaring it, it's officially springtime. Winter's over with. We're done with the cold. We're moving on to great spring weather. And you know what that means? The summer is right behind it. But before we get to that, we got to recap some LSU baseball. First massive series win of the season on the road in Gainesville. I'm going to call it the Swamp. I know the stadium's not called the Swamp, but LSU dropped the first game Friday night, a little concerned, and then came back with a vengeance on Saturday and Sunday. Felt extra good to beat former LSU baseball coaching candidate, Coach Kevin O'Sullivan. We are going to recap that on the show, talk about Braden Jobear's monster performance this past weekend and against the ULM Warhawks on Tuesday night. And finally, we are going to look ahead to this weekend's Thursday, Friday, Saturday series against Auburn back in the box. A few miscellaneous topics we're going to talk about this week. Tyrann Mathieu coming to LSU for the week. It seems like he is just Mr. LSU. Like, it seems like anytime he is on campus at the radio station, he is the spotlight around LSU this week. We're going to talk a little bit of football, and we are going to get to the House Always Wins segment and an exciting announcement for the Out the Box podcast. And I'll just go ahead and get right to it. DraftKings is back to the Out the Box podcast and Boot Crew Media. Baseball fans, it's time to step up to the plate with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. New customers can bet just $5 on any team to win and get $200 in free bets if they do. If sportsbooks aren't available in your state yet, they are in Louisiana, you can still take a swing at stacks of green with daily DraftKings fantasy baseball contests. New customers can play free for thousands in prizes with their first deposit. Pick a lineup of 2 pitchers and 8 batters while staying under the salary cap and rack up points for hits, runs, strikeouts, and more. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code BOOT, B-O-O-T. Bet just $5 and win $200 in free bets if your team wins their game. It's promo code BOOT at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. 21 plus restrictions apply. MLB trademarks used with permission. See show notes for details. We are going to post the show notes in the bio of this episode. I also want to give a huge shout out to the Boot Crew Media Network. Tons going on over there. It's podcast galore. I'm officially naming Boot Crew Media Podcast Galore. I guarantee you, if you go on bootcrewmedia.com, you will find at least one podcast or article or page or video, anything you want on there. You will find something you're interested in. Make sure to follow Boot Crew Media at Boot Crew Media on all social media and at bootcrewmedia.com. Wow, I'm out of breath. But the show's got to keep rolling, right? So, big weekend for the Tigers last week. Like we said to start the show, huge win going down to Gainesville. I don't think any of us were confident that we were going to win the series, and much less blow out the number 9 Florida Gators on Saturday and Sunday. So, Luffy, I want your thoughts after we dropped the first game. Where did you think the series was going to go from there?
Well, I mean, it didn't look good. I mean, they didn't look confident at all, and I think that now it's kind of come out that there was Jay Johnson talked to the team after the game. They had a long talk after the game, and then they had a players-only meeting. And Cruz apparently got up and spoke, and everyone knows he's a quiet guy, and that really just turned the whole weekend around, I guess. And they played like pissed off Saturday, and Sunday they were like talking shit to the Florida dugout, and they looked like a whole new team Saturday and Sunday than really we've seen for all year.
Could you equate Friday's loss to LSU football's loss against Troy? because we had a players only meeting after that too.
I don't know, Rory. Were you in that locker room?
For after the Troy loss, yeah, I was.
Yeah.
I was, and I was at the players only meeting. It was interesting.
How was that? Tell us about that. I want to know.
It was interesting. I specifically remember John Battle got up and spoke at the players only meeting. Garrett Brumfield did. I think I don't remember who else. I guess Danny Etling also spoke because Danny was our quarterback. Correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Danny spoke. It was weird. It was weird vibes that week all around, and I'm sure that's how they felt Friday night. It was just like weird. It was weird coming back after that loss and like seeing the locker room and seeing the coaches. Like you didn't really know how to feel, but we picked it up after that, just like the Tigers this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something like when you're expected to be like good and expected, have high expectations of yourself, and someone like Cruz gets up there and talks, it's everyone's really locked in, and they like Jay Johnson kept saying they need to change their mindset. They need to have like a different mindset and approach at the plate, and like from Saturday on, we've seen that even and going into last night against ULM, like. They've been aggressive at the plate, and they're starting to hit the ball really hard.
Yeah, and it feels like they're swinging at better pitches.
Yeah,
for sure. I mean, and also, I mean, you can't discredit what we got on the mound Saturday and Sunday as well.
Florida had 17 hits all weekend. That's pretty damn good. If we hold a team to 17 hits during the weekend, I feel like we should win that series 10 out of 10 times.
Yeah. I mean, and 7 of those came Friday night, and then we allowed 5 Saturday and Sunday. So,
yeah, I mean that's really solid. 5 hits Saturday and Sunday is like you should win every single time with the lineup that we have, and that's what happened. And Braden Joe Bear was benched Friday, and since then the last 3 games he's 7 for 14, 5 bombs, and he's just hitting the cover off the ball. It's like such a weird season because they started off hot, little slump. Jay Johnson said they had to make a little change. Didn't play Friday, comes back just blazing hot. I mean, the home runs he's hitting are absolutely mashed. He's pimping the ball. He's hit a couple off lefties, which he was struggling with the left-handed pitching. And it really, like Jay Johnson said, we won the series because of Braden, and like that is partially true. On Sunday, Florida walked a ton of guys, and we're able to get them home and starting to convert some of these runs, and the bats are coming through. We talked about that a little bit this past week, that the timely hitting it was going to turn around. The roster is too good.
Yeah, and I mean, this was the first weekend that you saw Jacob Berry play third base all weekend, something that we had talked about last week and talked about in the past. And then you also saw the switch of K. Doty and Jordan Thompson. K. Doty moving to shortstop, Jordan Thompson moving to second base. And Coach Johnson talked about that, saying that, Jordan Thompson has the arm and all that, but sometimes he was just kind of making the mental mistakes at shortstop. Moving over to second base, not as much pressure over there. I mean, and K. Doty's a vet, 100% a vet. You can put him all over the infield. He's just that type of guy. And after that move, only 1 error, and in total, really, only 2 errors on the weekend. I mean, if we play baseball like that, and you let the bat swing, that's how it works.
Yeah, and another thing, Dugas, he maybe struggled a little bit to start the year, and still hasn't hit as many home runs as we thought, but he hit one last night against ULM. His percentage is over 500, and now he's batting right over 300. So he's turned it around, and when you have Joe Bear and Dugas swinging it takes, like that's going to be really hard to get that whole lineup out multiple times. I mean, those guys at the back end maybe have struggled a little bit the last couple of weeks, and now that they've picked it up, the lineups, it's complete.
Yeah, and you're still seeing like I mean, Trey Morgan's batting like a little bit over 330 now. So there's still guys that are going to pick it up, but we're seeing six or seven. I mean seven with Dugas now batting in the 300s and DiGiacomo right there at 286. I think that it wouldn't be absurd to say that you get 8 out of 9 hitters batting 300 by the end of the year. Uh, and also like I mean the pitching this weekend, like I said, was very good. I mean Sunday you had a great 1-2 by Sam Dutton and Grant Taylor, two freshmen. I mean Sam Dutton looked very good, very good. Um, and Mikhail Hilliard on Saturday looked good as well. I mean I think you know and when you've kind of seen that in the past where Mikhail gets through the first two, and then the third time around they kind of get to him, and you saw that again. They only scored in the sixth inning, uh, all earned runs, all off McHale, and then they pulled him, brought Gervasi in, and he kind of shut him down. But and he was at 100 pitches. I think that's probably the max for him. But five scoreless innings from Mikhail, I really don't think you can ask for much more, especially with what this pitching staff looked like.
And Rory, that's two things we've talked about in the past. Him being up and down, like he might have a bad game, but like you're still going to have to run him out there because he's going to give you that good game. And then we talked about also the freshmen, and like you just mentioned, Jay Johnson was going to have to put trust in them because we don't have a ton of veteran guys that he trusts coming out of the pen. So he's going to have to trust these freshmen to eat up important innings in SEC games, and that's what happened. And hopefully that they can build on that and they might not have it every weekend. Like I think that's kind of what we're looking at this year. But I think that we can have some good weekends, and we might have some really bad ones and some bad games. I mean, Razelman looked good last night against ULM. He kind of got his swagger back, throwing some strikes, threw 99 a couple times.
Yeah, I was surprised we didn't see him at all over the weekend. That was kind of surprising to me, but I mean,
yep.
I mean the dirty 30. You could, I mean, he started last night as well, right? The dirty 30.
No, Fondo started.
Fondo started.
The dirty
30.
He came out of the pen excellent, Rory. He was great. He throws strikes. He knows when he starts locating the slider, he's good. I mean, he has that pitch to punch people out, and he doesn't walk guys. He's been great. So
he kind of has that FU attitude and swagger as well that you like to have every once in a while.
Yeah, he does. He does. I mean, he's that better, and Riley Cooper started pitching better. So, hopefully these guys continue to come along because if we can keep piecing together these innings with, each guy gives us maybe two or gives us an inning here or there, as long as they're solid, good innings and we're not walking a bunch of guys. Look what happened against this weekend was Florida hit a bunch of our batters, and then we hit, a double or a home run, and that's how we were able to score in bunches.
Yeah, a couple quick notes just to kind of wrap up the series recap and the ULM game. The first one, Luffy, big miss on your part by not quoting Lynn Rollins when he was describing Braden Jobert. I think an all-time call was Lynn Rollins saying, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, but he was after Jobert's fifth home run in the last few games and whatnot. Lynn Rollins was like, yeah, we're kind of having trouble describing and coming up with words to describe how great Braden Jobert's been. And then just out of nowhere, he goes, he's been hotter than a fire ant on a fever blister, which is an all-time call by Lynn Rollins. So I did have to throw that out there.
I was at the game, so I was not listening to the broadcast.
It was incredible. I laughed for a solid 10 minutes. Next, my next and last note, Blake Money. I'll get to my scratch offs when we get to the House Always Wins segment, but I did buy a scratch off that was triple bonus money or whatever, and it just might have been a winner. So I'm thinking that'll be a good omen for Money to come out on Thursday night, kind of bounce back after his Friday night start against Florida. It did kind of prove that Blake Money is like human, right? Coming back from injury, kind of working his way back. It is going to be so important to see our relievers come in, especially if Money is not on his game, if Money is not Money. And last note, sorry, I said last note already, but ULM did throw 10 pitchers last night. So
yeah, they had some guys really struggling. They were walking guys all over the place, hitting guys a ton. So
yep, and that is why midweek games matter. All righty. You know who would never coach a team that has 10 pitchers touch the mound?
Who is that?
Blaine Loop with Keller Williams Realty. Blaine Loop is the man. Blaine wants you to know. Did we mention that he got engaged a while back? He did get engaged.
Congrats, Blaine.
He also sold $1 million in the month of February in real estate. Consequently, it was all my money that he helped me spend. I bought $1 million home in where was it at? The LSU Lakes. So
yeah, he sold the one to Brian Kelly, huh?
Yes, and then Brian Kelly moved and got another one, and I bought that one. So yeah. Blaine wants you to know.
Up his sponsorship fee, man.
Yes. The commission on that is quite ridiculous. But all that to say, Blaine wants to be your friend, your neighbor, and your agent. He wants you to know that if you're looking to buy a home, sell a home, rent a home, or find people to rent out your investment property, Blaine will help you out. Blaine lives in New Orleans, will help anybody in New Orleans, but he will come to Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas to help you out. That's how committed he is to helping you find the home of your dreams. Please make sure to call or text Blaine Loop at 504-858-0031 for all your housing needs. All right, weird series starting tonight at the Box. We're back at the Box. It's no longer the ice box anymore, right? Like I'm done with cold fronts. I'm announcing. I know the groundhog. What's the groundhog's name, Rory? I forget. I know he saw a shadow a while back. Punk something. I know he saw a shadow a while back, but winter's over with. The ice box is heating up, and we're ready to roll. Unranked Auburn comes to town. Rory was kind of mentioning before the show. He was like, "Oh, well, what are we going to do about these guys with high averages? Maybe a couple hard throwing righties coming to the box. What do we see for this weekend?"
So I think the one story, and I credit James for this one because Auburn's they're not very good as in terms of SEC and in terms of prospects. They don't really have. They have no top 100 prospects. They have one top 100 prospect who's a pitcher who hasn't pitched well all year. He's got like a 60 ERA. He's a closer. But I think the one guy of note is the first. I assume he plays first base because there's no way he could play anything else. Sony Desharia, probably 6'1", 263 pounds. Luffy said he's pushing 280 now. He big old boy. Batting .455 on the year with 7 home runs. He's got a few doubles and 10 doubles. He's got some wheels for being a big boy. He hits
he's
in the gap.
SWAT.
This is an Auburn team that's not very good. They're predicted to be last in the SEC West. No first team or second team preseason, SEC all SEC players. Not a very good Auburn team, but this kid is worth the ticket to admission. You see this big old boy come up to the plate. He looks like Prince Fielder up there.
Yeah, he's actually transferred for Sanford too. So he played with McManus last year. So hopefully we have the book on him.
We should have the book on him then. Yeah, I agree. But, 21 RBIs, 30 hits,
Yeah.
Batting .455. I mean, Lord have mercy.
That's falling out.
So I'm going to go ahead and throw out an idea here. So our predictions have been like historically bad.
Oh wow! Also, he leads. All right, last thing, he leads the country in OBP with a 608 OBP.
Damn.
He gets on 6 out of 10 times. That is insane. Also, Auburn hasn't won a road series matchup at LSU since 2011.
All right.
Keep that in mind.
So our predictions have been pretty bad, right? So we started off the season predicting the lineup. It was close, but we were still way off on a few things.
It's closer than it's like pretty much where it is now.
Right. But we were off to start the season. Then SEC play rolls around after LSU plays their non-conference opponents. You know, they're whacking the ball, pitching's doing well, and A&M comes to town. We predict a sweep. End up losing the series. Okay, little wrong on that one. Well, then all of a sudden we're like, okay, we're going to Gainesville. No shot we win the series, and end up after a Friday night loss that was pretty disappointing. Didn't have much hope after that. End up winning the series. My first question is prediction for this series, and my second question is this going to be more of a weekend to keep the train rolling on, you know, keeping the errors low, or working on like our relief pitching against SEC play, right? Is this like you go in with the mindset that we're going to score a crap ton of runs so that we can get a lead and get our guys the relief pitching practice that they will need?
I think this weekend's a bounce back for money. Like I feel good about Friday night. Now the next 2 days, I feel like they could go either way, but I think this is a bounce back week for money. I don't expect them to pitch poorly again, and I think we can take 2 out of 3.
I'm pulling a John Wallace here.
I'm going with the sweep too, Rory.
I'm going with the sweep. You know, John's always I'll be honest. Usually, I'm negative Nancy. I don't really believe that much, but I believe this weekend. I think we're playing right. We got our mind right, and I think that's what matters. And I think we're going to sweep this Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and the boys are going to come out on Saturday night. You know, that's got to be awesome. Baseball players, you know, you don't get that Saturday night because, you know, they're in season. They never really go out. But, hey, Thursday, Friday, Saturday series, you get that Saturday night. They're hitting the bars. So, you got to think about that. That's a sweet. That's sweet material right there.
Well, and also just to kind of, oh shoot, I'm looking at the damn. I still have my weather app pulled up for Houston for whenever we were headed to the Shriners Classic. The showers today, the big squall line that moved through town is getting out of here for the weekend. Thursday, sunny all day, low of 45, getting a little chilly at the box. So make sure to bundle up. I'm still not calling it the ice box. Friday, a little bit better as far as the temperature goes. Partly cloudy with a high of 77. Saturday, you might have to bounce around with some scattered showers, 40% chance of rain, but it never rains in Alex Box. So ought to be a great weekend for baseball. I'll be honest, the Thursday, Friday, Saturday series is going to kind of throw me off. I do always like watching some Sunday baseball with the golds on when I'm recovering from my weekend, but I'm predicting the sweep as well, Rory. I think it's going to be a great weekend to come back to the box and put up some big numbers. So with that, I think we need to just clean up the baseball talk so we can get to Luffy's favorite part, spring football talk.
Before we get to spring football, we're cleaning up the baseball talk with Martine at Workbox LC. They're Louisiana's leader in construction, industrial, and residential services. If you need a porta potty, the cleanest in the business, a storage container, a portable office, a restroom rental, or a roll-off dumpster, after you call Blaine, you get a new house, you need to redo something, call Martine at Workbox at 225-343-4886. You tell them you need a roll-off dumpster, for them to throw all the trash in while you're cleaning your house out. And also, you're having a party, you need a luxury restroom rentals, you need a porta potty. Call Martine at Workbox at 225-343-4886.
All right, let's get to a little spring football talk. Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger, is in town. Luffy, from what you've seen so far, from one, Tyrann, and two, just Brian Kelly in spring ball, what is, I guess, standing out to you the most as opposed to Coach O and Les Miles?
Yeah, first of all, Honey Badger takes what he wants. He's my favorite LSU player of all time. He's the best defensive college football player of all time, hands down. Don't Deion Sanders me. It's not even close. The Honey Badger, the plays he was making on defense, no one's ever done that. No one's come close to that. And it's a shame that RG3 won the Heisman that year when they lost like 4 games. Honey Badger was hands down the Heisman winner, was robbed from it. But I love the Honey Badger. It's great to have him back because he's a team captain on every NFL team he's had. He's in meetings. He's at practice. And it's great to see Brian Kelly building a relationship with some of these alumni. Hopefully me and Rory will get to go to practice soon. And
whoa, I'm coming next time.
And John, you too. And but it's the one major difference that you see in Brian Kelly from the clips we've seen is just like O is always kind of running around, yelling, clapping, and Les Miles kind of just was walking around clapping. Rory can probably speak more to this than me because he was at the every one of the entire practices. But Brian Kelly seems like more quiet and he's taking notes and trying to. And I think they're still, teaching the team how they're going to operate in practice.
Yeah, I mean, Coach O is definitely like a bounce around type of guy, and then he would kind of end up on the defensive line and kind of work with the defensive line. But I mean, and you saw, I mean, Miles Brennan said this the other day, and I would honestly agree with him I would agree with about the other 2 coaches that this is the first coach he's ever had that like can actually coach him up. And I would agree. I mean, Coach O, definitely just a defensive line guy. The defensive line will definitely tell you that Coach O coached them up. But besides that, I mean, Coach O was not like we weren't really learning from him. He was a big energy guy, and he did bring energy to practice. And then Les Miles, I mean, he was a terrible coach.
Okay. All right.
Les Miles, just like if Les Miles came to you like during your period, like so whenever you're at practice, if we were like an offensive line individuals and Les Miles came over, like you were like, all right, we're about to do something completely different than what we were gonna do. Like he would just take over the drill and then just like teach you stuff that it didn't really matter.
It's something that everyone's already heard by now is the length of the practice, which I don't know if it'll be different in the fall, but how long were Les's practices, Rory?
Les's practice, I mean, both practice. Coach O at the beginning tried to be like, short practices, and then they casually got longer.
Yeah.
But I mean, both probably pushed like 2.5, 3 hours.
Yeah.
Les's practices were a grind for sure. And so were Coach O's practices towards the end. I mean, in the first year when he became the intern, they weren't so much a grind. And then once he got the full-time gig, definitely more than before. But, like 2.5, 3 hours normal time. I don't know. I haven't really been up to date on spring ball. So I don't really know what they're practicing now, but
were they the same? Were they around the same? Like, what was it? You talking spring practice for the league? Because apparently they're about an hour and a half right now.
I mean, I don't know. Spring practices is like definitely 2.5 hours in full pads for sure. Unless like you have like No, because you would only practice every other day in the spring.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really like a season like, during the season, Tuesday, Wednesday are your big days. Monday, Thursday, practices hour and a half, 2 hours max. Uh, but during the season, and Tuesday and Wednesday were long practices, 2.5. And during camp, it was definitely like a 3 hour probably practice.
Yeah.
So spring, I wouldn't be surprised if we were definitely over 2 hours for sure. Probably 2 to 2.5 hours. I think they were probably like a 24 period practice, which is like a pretty average Wednesday type of practice. Uh, so that's definitely a step down. Um,
And Rory, do you think? I mean, like, is that make a difference really, like on the players' like attitudes, or is that part of like them not knowing what they're doing during practice, and is that why it took longer? Or
no, I think it's definitely a coaching philosophy.
yeah,
Uh, I think that some people just like the longer practices. I mean, I think they're beneficial, but there's also times where stuff can get done at other times. And it could be an hour and 30-minute practice with an hour walkthrough before something where like, because, 2 hour and 30-minute practice, you probably 30 minutes of that is special teams work that could be done beforehand.
yeah,
You don't really need the full pad for special teams work. Um, but I mean, an hour and 30-minute practice it's impressive, honestly, because it means that, you're active to where like if you're out there, you're getting stuff done. There's no real dead time.
Mhm.
And there really wasn't dead time in the 2.5 hour practices. They were just kind of long. I mean, there was a little bit here and there, but like it just sounds like there's no real dead time. And but I also don't know how much like like good on good work they're doing, like one on one stuff. But during spring, the practices are still going to be a little bit lesser because you don't have to put in you're facing your defense, so you don't have to put in a new defense. Uh, like you're just putting in your offense. You're worrying about what you're doing, so you don't have to worry about another team. Also, you don't get like a scout team in spring ball. Like
yeah,
you're just running ones versus ones, twos
yeah,
versus twos, they're probably running like 15 to 20 plays at that, maybe 20 to 30. But I would imagine that they run 20 to 20 to 25 good on good, 11 on 11 reps probably at an hour and a half. I think it's impressive, and I think players like that kind of stuff because there's definitely a time where the spring wears down and you're just kind of ready for it to be over.
yeah,
And especially that happens during the season as well, for sure. I mean, like you think about it, it doesn't really like you go to fall camp, you have like the most grueling 4 to 6 weeks of practice, or I mean, whatever, 4 weeks of practice that you could have, and then you immediately go into the season. Like that's a lot to ask for somebody. That's
So do you think the fall camp will be lighter, just from what Brian Kelly said and the way he's speaking about how his practices are lighter and he wants to be official with them? I mean, or you think by that time they're trying to get their ass in shape?
I think that fall camp would probably be lighter. It sounds like it, and I
Yeah,
think that would be better. I mean, there's a time to ramp up, and there's a time where like you kind of need a break. If you're getting 2 hours and 30 minutes of padded practice, and then you're getting probably another hour of walkthroughs and 2 hours of film total. That's a lot. It takes
yeah,
a huge toll on you,
yeah,
and and can definitely wear you down. I mean, you're seeing that in the NFL, which is also completely different
yeah,
because those guys are professionals and all they do and think about is football. But like you're seeing in the NFL where there are some NFL teams that are definitely swaying away from having the long, grueling camps because yeah, you need to, pad up. You need to hit each other. You need to get that feel, you need that. But there also comes a time where these guys are ready to play and you don't want to overbear them to where like they're going to go into the first game tired, you know?
Yeah, I agree. And just to get to a couple guys like specifically that I'm super excited about, I love O lineman. Everyone knows that now. Will Campbell. I mean, he just looks like a big offensive tackle, and I think he's going to be a left tackle. He's been around with the second team, but it's still early. He's still learning. He's still supposed to be in high school, and I'm fired up to see him, and I'm fired up to see Greg Penn, the middle linebacker, they said that it's been running with the ones. Blake Baker really liked him last year. And then the new DBs from Arkansas, those guys, heard some good things about them. Honey Badger had a couple tweets about them, and it's fun to see 4 quarterbacks that really look good throwing the ball. So, like towards the end of last year, we didn't have that. Like we didn't have 4 guys that like looked good, dropping back, sitting in the pocket.
We didn't have one.
We had one, and it's fun to see that. Now, whether we have them all going into fall camp, I don't know. And my guess would be probably not. But it is good to see that right now.
I'm pumped about what Miles Brennan said. Or everybody knows on this podcast that we're big Miles Brennan guys. For sure, we've had him on the podcast before. Great guy. And I'm pumped. He was just like, competition's competition. Like I've been here, I compete every year. That kind of fired me up. I was like, all right, let's go. Let's get it done.
Yeah, I mean that's great to hear. I mean to have QB depth and to hear that Miles is, and from what I've heard, he's dialed in, he's locked in. This is his last year, and I think he's really excited about getting done. He looks good out there. He's thick.
He is thick, man. He is a thick boy.
He's throwing it hard. I would not want to catch the ball. I need some like padded receiver gloves to catch it from him. He's throwing that ball is jumping out of his hands, and the receivers, that's a group too. The receivers and the defensive line, those are the groups that need to be extremely elite for us to be a top tier SEC team. And those are like the guys that look like it. Because if you think about it, Butte, Neighbors, Brian Thomas, Jack Besh, who's now in the slot full time. Like there's like 5 or 6 guys that like are going to be fighting. Chris Hilton's apparently looked really good. Like there's like 5 or 6 receivers that could be starters, I think. So that's good to hear. And then the defensive line, they look big and strong and fast. So that's 2 positions that have to be elite, and I think will be.
All right, last thing before we get to the House Always One section, I just want to know how you feel about Butte and what Brian Kelly said about him. Like, how do you feel, Luffy?
I think Brian Kelly's not giving anybody special treatment. Like he's been almost saying it over and over. Like the accountability thing, we've heard it a billion times from all the different players, Bash, Miles in their interview, and he was out there walking through drills, which is a great thing to see. Like he's gonna look. You can't come off an injury or 2 surgeries and be a first-round pick. He's gonna have to play, and he's gonna have to play well if he wants to be a first-round draft pick. So I don't really think Butte's in a spot where he could like sit out the year, and he can't transfer really at this point. So he's gonna have to come back, and he's gonna have to fall in that line and listen and do what they've asked him to do, because that's Brian Kelly's not taking any shit, really. And then Miles said in his interview, he said, if you miss something or you're late for something, like you're gonna get in trouble. You're gonna pay the consequences. He basically directly said, and Miles has been, this is his 3rd head coach, 5th offense coordinator. He said, like in the past, like there's been times where, if you missed a meeting or missed class or something like that, like maybe nothing would happen. But he said that's not happening anymore. Like, so the culture change is definitely in effect, and I think that, and Keyshawn's out there with the team now, walking through drills, even though he can't like run through drills and learn the plays. And Kelly said that anybody out there is above the line as far as like his standards. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, it certainly is refreshing to have to hear that accountability, especially in the spring. Like we're months away from football season, and they seem to be very well locked in. We'll have to get Keishawn Butte back on the show to kind of expand on all that. But let's get to the famous House Always Wins segment presented by the House Bar in Tigerland. Rory gonna be at the House Bar in Tigerland
This week, Thursday night, tomorrow night,
tonight, spinning the turntables.
As always.
Get on over to the House Bar in Tigerland to go see DJ Road Dogg. All kind of stuff going on at the House Bar in Tigerland this time of year. It's crawfish season. They are constantly boiling them up over there, constantly putting on different events, drink deals, you name it. Head on over to the House Bar and Tigerland website as well. You can book your own private event on there. And by the way, we have the trifecta going. We are all wearing a piece of House in Tigerland merch as we record this podcast. It's fire. It's absolutely fire. You can only find that on houseintigerland.com. Also, make sure to follow them on social media, on Twitter at Tigerland House, and on Facebook and Instagram at House in Tigerland. All right, so I'm going to go first. Last week, I forgot to scratch a piece of the scratch off. There was a little bonus section on there. So if you don't remember correctly, I won $20 on a $2 scratch off and was able to participate in the House Always Win segment. It was actually $30. Took that $30, went to the gas station, bought 3 $10 scratch offs, and ended up pushing. So I won 20 on one and 10 on another. So I do get to participate in the House Always Win segment this week, and I'm going to take the $30 from these 2 scratch offs, parlay it, get me another win and another winner in the House Always Win segment. NIT Championship tomorrow night. Or no, it's tonight. I'm so bad at that. Tonight, Xavier versus the Texas A&M Aggies in the finals. I looked at the playbill, I guess you can call it, and it is in the Garden, up in Madison Square Garden, the NIT Tournament Championship. Xavier plus 4.5 points. They're the number 2 seed facing the number 1 seed, Texas A&M, and I am going with Xavier with the points.
All right. I lost last week. I don't remember what I had, but I remember I lost. It was a tournament game. It's tough, the tournament stuff, but I'm back on it. Tournament this week as well. Duke versus North Carolina, game of the century. People have been calling it LSU versus Alabama, 2011 2.0 or 3.0 actually. Game of the century 3.0. That's what people are calling it. I'm taking the under. Under 151, Duke versus North Carolina. I think, it is a second game in New Orleans, but they're going to come out throwing punches at first. It's going to be a slugfest. It's going to be hard. Points are going to be hard to come by in the first half. It might pick up later. Probably should also take first half in the under so you can ixnay the possibility of overtime. But I like the under. I think points will be hard to come by, especially with those 2 blue blood teams. So give me under 151.
Rory, did you see that Eric Church canceled his concert in San Antonio to attend that game?
I did actually see that, and that's
that's diehard right there.
I know. How they have football guys? That's a basketball guy move.
Yes. And I mean that I saw I think it was KFC on Barstool. He was talking about all the people who bought plane tickets, hotels, were making plans to travel, and then he just flipped it around. He's like, so they were all mad about that, and they were equally as big of fans of Eric Church as Eric Church is to North Carolina. So it's they're mad at him for doing what they would do to go see him.
Yeah. I mean, I can't believe it's the first time these two teams have ever played. You know, that's kind of crazy.
It's going to be nuts. Luffy?
Well, and played in the tournament. Sorry.
All right, last week I had Jordan Spieth beating Keegan Bradley. He did. This week we're going back to golf, and we're going early Masters pick. We'll have more Masters picks, like more matchups and stuff next week. But we're going Sam Burns, LSU Tiger, Sam Burns plus 4,000 to win the Masters. He hits it far. He can hit it both ways, and he has a great hands around the green and can putt it. Sam Burns will win the Masters in 2 weeks. Book it.
I'm in.
All righty. I think that about wraps up the House Always Wins segment in our show. Thank you guys so much for listening. We really appreciate it. Make sure to follow the Boot Crew Media Network. Blaine Loop with Keller Williams Realty. We also want you to know that Keller Williams is an equal opportunity housing partner. Each office independently owned and operated. DraftKings, Workbox LLC, and the House Bar in Tigerland. And with that, Luffy has an announcement.
Flock.
Wow.
We better win tonight, though. If we don't win tonight, gun chain them.
Wow. That about sums it up perfectly for me.
You'll hear this tomorrow, so you'll know already.
Flock it up. All right.